24 Celsius, blue skies, very nice indeed. But like to very good climate today. So we'll see. Okay, well, I'm not staying late, it's getting late. I'm going to get going. I'm going to go see the wife. I've kind of made the message there. We have the evening meal together and then Kilo 2, go ahead. Okay, Mike, I didn't catch your name. Well, I got it on the, I got it up on here on the log, but let me know if you'd like to be called Michael. Michael, on the next over, if you don't mind. I'll see you up there at my T4. So, this start, I'll give you a report on the next over. My name is Glenn, Golf Lima Echo November. And, I think you're about a 5 and 5, but we'll let you know on the next over. We're located here in Alabama, just about 1 mile north of the Florida. You gotta watch out for the redwoods, they're all crazy.
Okay, this is the 70-foot loop with 3x10 winding going direct in the receive antenna with a broadcast band blocker on it, since I'm close, about a kilometer away from an AM station. So this is it with it. That's it without it. Obviously turn the preamp off. No. This is on 160 at about 10 p.m.
I'd change that over to a gel cell, maybe.
Whatever.
You'd have to buy almost a direct replacement for it.
So this is DX Commander with an 80 meter coil, or 80 meter wire on it, inverted L. I do not have a 160 on that, and it will not tune. This is a remote tuned 130 foot wire. A lot of noise since it's near the house. It's picking up a lot of house noise. Back to the DX. And this is a 10 through 80 end fed. Same thing, lots of noise. Now going to the loop. This is without the preamp. With the preamp. Getting just a little bit on there. Now this is with an external 20 dB preamp that is coming in right after the broadcast band filter before going into the radio.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Turn the preamp off.
It all depends on the voltages and whatnot. But you can have that alternator put out any kind of voltage that you want, depending on how it's wound. Well, it's a standard 12 volt system. I'm thinking like
turn the attenuator on.
This LiPo 4 battery that I've got here in my Go box, it's about the same size as a tractor battery.
130 foot wire. Cannot hear them.
Yeah, it's a 12 volt battery. I just wondered if an alternator would hurt it, or if it would.
DX Commander. Cannot hear them.
You have to be careful.
The other chat group here. 1919.
Well, you don't. It was the right band at the right time. You only need 12 watts.
just hearable with the DX Commander. I can hear something on the 130 remote tuned wire, but I can't make any of that out. That is the loop on the ground again. And this is it without the 20 dB preamp, external preamp. Internal attenuator off. Internal preamp on. I find the external preamp works very well. It is a new electric, no electric, I believe, HF preamp, LNA, low noise. It's USB powered. Not required, but a good preamp is good. I find it works extremely well on that band. It works extremely well on 80. It's not perfect on 80. It's about equal. Yeah, you can see it's technically the DX Commander being a resonant. The DX Commander being resonant on 80 meters means that this is about, it's a little bit better on the DX Commander than on the loop on the ground. Going to 40 meters, I find that the loop on the ground is slightly better than the DX Commander on that. That's the DX Commander. Loop on the ground. I think currently I'm picking up a lot of atmospheric noise on that. DX Commander. Loop on the ground. This time of night, the DX Commander is picking up some noise. I'm not sure if that's local noise, but is definitely better on the loop on the ground with the external preamp and the internal attenuator on the low band. And fortunately, my DX Commander is not resonant on this. That is external 130-foot wire. You can see it has a lot of noise. Turn the attenuator on, makes a little difference. The loop on the ground. They're very quiet, but I can make them out. Switching to DX Commander. A lot of background noise on both the DX Commander and the loop on the ground. So that is picking up something local probably, but might be atmospheric. The FT8. I can barely pick anything up on that 130-foot wire. Honestly, that 130-foot wire is more of a transmitting antenna at this point, with the loop on the ground being used for the receive. I do plan on replacing that at some point, probably going to a slightly shorter wire and moving it away from the house. That is the 60-meter band. I do not think at this time of day the 20-meter band is going to be working well. Oop, something was there. Oh, there we go.
That's part of this hobby that I always say is some of the best things for the buck is making your own antennas, things like that, and seeing how they work.
So the signal is both about an S9, but it's just about an S7 noise versus the just above S5 noise.
Almost sounded like somebody was on another band, not on this band, but on another band, like a trucker going by, because I could hear sort of the way the modulation was moving up and down, but it was not on this band. And wow, somebody had a really nasty radio. The first time I've ever heard that. First time
The polarity must be changing because now the vertical is picking him up better than the loop on the ground, which is fascinating. The vertical is picking him up at over S9, with still an S7 noise. Oh, the loop is below an S9 now. I find this loop works really well on all the bands with the preamp. If you do not have a broadcast station nearby, or you can remotely turn that down. If you do not have a nearby broadcast station, such as I, having a 5 kilowatt AM station only a kilometer away, though at night here I think it drops down to 500 to a kilowatt, somewhere in that range. It works okay on 10. I find the vertical works better on 10 and 12, and even 15, the vertical from the DX Commander works better as a receive antenna. But the loop on the ground works better with the current setup I have, which is a 3:9 ratio. That is 3 turns to 10 turns, which is giving me about an 11:1 impedance ratio for 75 ohm cable. That is putting me at just over 800 ohms on the loop, and it is going through a type 73 binocular core with about 100 foot of RJ6 cable. If you were to change out that cable to 50 ohm, you might actually incur more losses on the receive, so the 75 ohm is probably a better option. The preamp is rated for 50 to 75 ohms on the input, though I think they did recommend 50 ohms on the output, so that could be an issue. But any kind of low noise amplifier, high quality shielded one inside of maybe a metal box, could be used remotely at the direct loop itself, though for safety reasons you would have to use most likely a bias through the coax, which would have to be remotely killed on transmit. I would verify if your transmitter, or sorry, not the transmitter, but I would verify that your LNA, what the delay is from losing power to the point of actually shutting off. That would be a big deal on that as well, because if your LNA has like filter caps in it, it's possible that at the point of you transmitting those 5 to 10 millisecond delay with the power, it may still be powered and you could easily blow the internal amplifier. Possible to have protections on that. That's beyond my skill on that, but could do it, and it would work. Like I said, currently in my situation, I found that even though it's a high quality LNA outside, when I was running it all the way outside and trying to bias it, I was having some issues with picking up intermodulation from the AM station nearby. I'm not sure if that's the easy way to solve that, but I think that's just a unique issue to me. With it inside, on the loop, I did include a pair of switching diodes reversed. So if the voltage gets above a few tenths of a volt, it would shunt itself out immediately with a bleeding resistor. I have a 470 kilo ohm one from the windings, from the primary to the secondary windings, though a 1 mega ohm might be better, but that probably doesn't matter in the situation I'm using since I'm not transmitting on this. It does help. The loop I'm using consists of, I believe it's about 70 to 75 foot of 12 gauge copper landscaping low voltage cable. It's a twin lead cable. It's that heavy duty black stuff that's meant to be buried out in the yard and all that, so it's safe for being out in the grass. It's intended for things like sprinkler systems and outdoor lighting for like 12 and 24 volt systems. I have it running to a pair of spade connectors that are then attached to the stainless steel binding posts of the transformer I made. I do have pictures of that, which if this is a video, I will be including in the video, but I doubt I will be doing a video. No real issues with it. It has worked very well. I tried an earlier version using coax with both just using the outer shielding of the coax. It worked, but it did not work as well. I also tried the type with the outer coax going around and then shunting to itself from the outer to the inner to basically make two loops. I didn't find that to work very well either. It works okay on the small scale, but for really large, it didn't work well for me. I found it did not work on the lower bands nearly as well as I hoped, and it really didn't work well at all on the higher bands. I tried doing the type with the ground, shunt to ground shield with the inner coil, or the inner conductor being it, basically removing out the standard RF and going towards basically turning into a giant mag loop. That worked okay, but it just did not work well on the high and low side. That kind of 20 to 40 range, it worked okay. I find it didn't really work above 20 meters, and it didn't really work well below 40 meters. So it was a little disappointing. I tried doing the type with the split end, where you cut the center conductor, leaving the shield continuous. I tried with the center conductor being shunted to them at that center point. That didn't work at all for me. In fact, neither one of those did. The type with the solid core, or the core continues, but then the shield has about a 1-inch cut on the end. That one worked well enough, where basically one side of the outer shield is grounded and the other side of the inner shield is connected to the hot side, where that hot side is then bonded to the shield on that side. So the left side and the center conductor would be shorted out to each other and connected to the secondary coil. And then the other side of the center conductor would be to the other side of the coil, but then the shield on the right side would be grounded. That worked well, but not nearly as well as just using 12 gauge copper wire. And I figured if the surface area of 12 gauge is acceptable, then the surface area of two 12 gauges together, which are then going to be sort of capacitively coupled, but at the same time they're also shunted on the end because they're shorted. The one thing I have yet to test is taking one side of the conductor, of the twin conductor, which theoretically should be about 100 to 150 ohm impedance between the two, just roughly based on the fact that it's effectively upscaled zip cord, like the type you would use on a lamp or something like that. That's the typical impedance of that type of wire, is 1 to 200 ohms. So if I were to take that and connect one side to it, and then one side of the secondary and then the other side to the other conductor, leaving both sides disconnected, effectively what I would have is two loops that are capacitively coupled only. I don't know if the 800 ohm impedance would be a proper match on that anymore then, but being just one giant loop, I'd recommend it. It's simple. Theoretically, you could make it even out of something like just 18 gauge lamp cord. You could just use single gauge. Oh, I did successfully do it with speaker wire. I had some CCA, the copper clad aluminum, did work. However, the copper will corrode when exposed, or not the copper, but the copper will just eat away, leaving the aluminum, and the aluminum will 100% corrode within just a week or two.